Might have rebuilt these brakes. Pads look pretty good. Yeah, I might have redid the brakes on this a long time ago, probably many years ago. But it doesn't look bad. Alright, so I'm going to change the third member. I'm pretty sure, I don't know what gear ratio it is, but it's probably a 323. It's definitely an open rear end. I've got a 355 sure grip I'm going to put in there, which will be better for drag racing. It's not a super low gear, so it's still streetable. So to get the third member out, you got to pop the axles out. There's 5 studs from the housing that go through the backing plate and then through this bearing flange. On this axle flange here, you can see there's a big hole. So you basically line up that hole to the nuts and pull them loose and get all 5 of them out, and then you could pull the axle out. So I was thinking I can leave the brakes on to get the axle out, but the bearing flange looks like it goes right behind that, well, whatever this part is, and doesn't really go up from there. So I think I'm gonna have to take the brakes completely apart in order to get the axle out. Well, it's a good thing I'm changing the differential, because there is no gear oil in it. I just cracked it open and hardly anything came out. That's all that came out. Holy crap. Well, I was right, they're 323s. I think the gears are fine. It was dry just because the car had been sitting and it had a little leak, and it's just leaked out over the last 30 years. The car was not actually driven with no gear oil in it, so I think it's good. Everything seems okay with it. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go with a sure grip anyways.
September 4th, about 8 a.m. It's getting hot already outside the shade. So shit on the charger continues to go sideways. I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of stuff that went smooth, you know? I mean, what, 80-90% of everything went pretty good. It's just a lot of work. And then you get things like this that just happen, and they throw a wrench in the works, you know, that one little thing. But, you know, it's not, I was already not going to make it. So here's the deal. For you guys that are going out to the duct tape drags, the charger's going to be there. It's not going to be running, but it's going to be there. So if you're there and you want to see the car, you will be able to get to check the car out. So I'm still pretty excited about going and bringing the car, and at least so people can check it out and stuff. But it won't be running, you know. So here's where we're at. That's the rear end. You can see it's totally apart. That's the third member that came out of it. It's an open rear end, 323. I wanted to put in a sure grip, so I had this thing laying around for a long time. I pulled it out, started to clean it up and everything, and as I'm wire wheeling it, I saw the yoke kind of hammered there, so it looks like it lost a U-joint at some point in its life and kind of tore that up. But I was like, oh, no big deal. I went ahead and ordered another yoke, but in the meantime I thought, oh, I'll take the yoke off of this one. So just so you know, for these old Mopars, there's two U-joint sizes. There's a big one and a small one. That one's the small one. What came out of the Charger's a big one. I was going to take this off and put it over there because I need the bigger one, and this one's not damaged. But this is like a, I forget if it's a 10 or 11 spline, and that one's like a 29 spline. So can't do that. I have one on the way, but it's not going to get here in time. So the plan is I'm going to clean this one up just a little bit, throw it back into the car, grease the bearings on the axles and throw them back in the car. There's one of them. And put the brakes back together. Hopefully I've got some wheel cylinders laying around, or I might hone those ones, just kind of pop them apart, because you know they could be rusty inside, I don't know. And then my buddy Dennis is going to come over tomorrow and help me with the brakes, try to get the brakes bled. So at a minimum, well, I'm there at the drags, hopefully, you know, I could just roll the car off the trailer. I don't want to run anybody over or hit another car. So, but I am going to need help from you guys that are there. Help me push the car to either the car show area, or hopefully, I'm saying we just go push it next to General Mayhem, right? And then let the chips fall. If they tell us we can't do it, then all right, we'll move it again. But we'll see what happens. All right, well, that's where we're at. This spring here broke, I think, on the other side. So I gotta see if I have another spare piece like that. Something else I noticed, I didn't think about it when I was pulling the axles out, but that fork that holds the adjuster that locks it in, it wasn't even on here. So I gotta go pull that off another rear end. I'm gonna put all this back together. Oh, I know, I had a question. Maybe you guys know the answer. Somebody out there knows. These pads. I think these pads are like, you know, like a 68, 69 disc brake pads. There's 4 thick ones, 4 thin ones.
I don't know, is that what they look like? I think they are. If you know, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. All right, back to work. I tried loosening the adjusters, but this thing's just so rusty, it's not going to come loose. So the last time I took a drum off, I beat the crap out of it, destroyed the drum, which is no big deal because it's going to get replaced. But I don't want to damage the backing plate. So it ended up tearing the top clip to the springs and that nail that hold the shoes on. And then when the shoes folded over, I was able to get the drum off. So this time, I'm going to try to just take a chisel to these nail heads here and see if I can knock them off. If I could just break those off, I think this thing will pop off easy. All right, that's one down. Rather sacrifice those nails than the backing plate. I don't know if the recording gave out or what. I think the camera shut off because it's too hot or something. All right, so we got the third member in with the new gasket, and that's all tightened down. And I went ahead and threw the driver's side axle in, and I'm tightening it now. So I just went ahead and repacked the bearings on this side best I could. We're using original bearings, and when you put the original tapered bearings, or let me back up. These have, the stock bearings are tapered bearings. So that means you have to put a preload on it, kind of like the front. So when you put the driver's side in, you're just gonna tighten the driver's side in all the way. The adjuster to preload it is on the passenger side. So when we get to the passenger side, we'll deal with the preload over there. Something else I'm checking is just the axle seal. I mean, it's a little on the hard side, but it's still pliable, and it doesn't look like it's cracked or anything like that. So Go ahead and throw some grease in there and throw the axle back in. Alright, so you see those teeth? We're gonna hit on that to tighten it. So that's how much lash is in there right now. I don't know if it's gonna turn. This thing is so old and grown. Oh, there it goes. It's alright. So tightening it up. Still a lot of slop. If you use the green bearings, it eliminates all that. So just an FYI. It's tightening up a little bit. I think I'm gonna leave it about there. Not too sloppy. Not too tight. If you make it too tight, it's gonna put a load on the bearings and it's gonna wear out your bearings. Okay, so this is the clip I stole off of that other rear end. Basically goes on this bottom stud and it grabs in the teeth. So hold on a second. All right. So do you see how it grabs right there? It's grabbing right in between the teeth. So when we tighten the bottom one up, that'll keep it from backing off and getting loose. So I don't know, at some point somebody screwed with this rear end. Pretty sure it wasn't my dad, because I don't remember him ever messing with the rear end. So previous owner, there was probably a sure grip in it, and they probably stole the sure grip. And then when they took it apart to get the sure grip out, they left this guy. But I don't know, it's possible that the 323 Open is factory too. Even though this car has RT stripes on it and badges, it's actually not an RT. It's actually just a 383 hypo car. So at some point I gotta tell that story. Tell a story about the car, the origin story, but not in this video. All right, so this ought to allow the car to roll. All right, so tomorrow will be rear brakes. Said my buddy Dennis is coming over. It feels good. I gotta put gear oil in it, and then tomorrow my buddy Dennis is coming over, and we're gonna work on the brakes. So get the brakes back together, hopefully bleed it. I'm probably gonna change those shocks too, because we're right there. And hopefully we get the brakes to work and the car rolls. That's gonna be about good enough for the duct tape drags. So I won't be able to drag race it, won't be able to start it, but the car will be there. So, and we'll have a whole year to get ready for next year. All right, we got some 8590 and a little 8090. I'm gonna pour that into here. We're gonna throw that in the rear end. The reason I'm mixing it, and I don't really care, is this is an open rear end, and it's all gonna come back apart. So at some point I'm gonna get a sure grip ready for it. This is all just to get us to the car show, be able to go up and down the trailer. By the way, gear oil is the most nastiest smelling oil you will ever smell in your entire life. Oh, it's bad. Especially if you had bad things happen in a rear end and it got cooked. Woo! Stinks to high heaven. Alright. So if you're wondering how much to put in here, how do you know when to stop? You basically fill it all the way up until it starts to drip out. Once it's starting to drip out, it's full. Alright, we're all done with the rear end. Well, yeah, the rear end. Not the brakes. Just the rear end. Gear oil, gasket. Cleaned up the third member a little bit. Yeah, filled it full of gear oil. So we're good there. We'll see how tomorrow goes.